Welcome to my wicked problem. To start, I wanted to do a quick video about what a wicked problem is and why educators deal with wicked problems on a daily basis, and then a few thoughts about wicked problems in general and a couple of examples. So, a wicked problem is a very complex problem or a question or sometimes a goal, right? Problem has a negative connotation to it, and wicked problems are not necessarily negative. Educators deal with wicked problems all the time because we deal with students. We're in the human industry. We have stakeholders, we have curriculum that keeps changing, political views that keep changing, and our profession is ever evolving. And I think if you get stuck in a route where you have a set of master copies and you keep making those same master copies every year, and you've nailed the curriculum and you don't have to make any changes, I think you've fallen into the trap of complacency. And you're not dealing with education as a wicked problem in general. So wicked problems, there's not a single clear definition because there's so many different facets to it. Causes and effects are intertwined. In some cases, you have a clear cause and effect, but then you apply that same algorithm in a very similar situation, but there's an underlying variable that you can't see. And it just doesn't work. So these are very context specific. They change over time. And it's one of the reasons that education is so fun for me, is because every day it's different. Even if I have the same curriculum from one semester to the next semester, I'm making changes. And I think that's very similar to how we deal with language. We work with a living language, and every day we're adding to it and we're changing it. So I'm reminded of a book that I was reading. Was working with a Tier 2 intervention in my school district. I got on the task force. I got some experience with that. And so one of the things that we did as a team was we read the book Better by Atul Gawande. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It's about a surgeon and his performance. The biggest takeaway here is that true improvement comes from this relentless commitment to doing small things well, working with integrity, working with creativity, trying to make surgery better and more promising, more effectual. I love a quote. He's got a quote in there, says, "Better is possible. It does not take genius, it takes diligence. It takes moral clarity, it takes ingenuity. And above all, it takes a willingness to try." So looking back, we're taking this course after we have read this book, but a lot of the same things that Berger talks about in his book, A More Beautiful Question, it really got me to start thinking about what the surgeon was talking about with being better. Surgery is a very complex, wicked profession because it's always changing. You always have new drugs, new tools. The patient dynamic is always changing. For lack of a better word, Americans are becoming less healthy, and so surgery is becoming more high risk. And so things that used to work, in 1950, don't work now. But then you have this added complexity of newer instruments and newer sanitation processes, and so the industry is always changing. So it's a very complex situation. Okay, so I asked ChatGPT to come up with a different take on this. So Atul doesn't really give a wicked question, but I kind of asked ChatGPT, hey, could you reframe his summary or his biggest takeaway into a wicked question, and so it kind of came up with this, and it's very similar to education. In complex, high-stakes professions, where the gap between knowing and doing can cost lives, how can individuals and systems foster a culture of relentless improvement that is both ethical and innovative, even when resources and conditions are far from ideal? And this is, almost exactly the same problem that we have with education. Now, in surgery, death can happen in seconds, in minutes. In education, this death might be a slow decline in a student's future. They might end up living in a box under a bridge with many addiction problems and bad situations because of their education system. And so while they may not die instantly on an operating table, like the surgeon is, I think education has just as high stakes as a doctor or a medical care provider. So that's kind of the introduction to wicked problems. My wicked problem is right along those same lines. I want to work on innovation in the classroom, specifically with curriculum. And in the back of my mind, I've been teaching for 13 years now. I've been in education for about 20 or so, doing different things, coaching and whatnot. And I've known for a long time that the education system has been geared towards a 1950s world. We've been teaching students how to be professional, well-educated, proper in a 1950s world. Well, it's 75 years later, and people don't go to work in suit and ties anymore. They wear jeans and a button-down shirt with no tie. Like the things that we were teaching when I was in school in the early 2000s is not the same as what's going on right now. But our curriculum hasn't really changed. Our values haven't really changed. And so I want to try to work on some small things to tweak and tailor my curriculum to the students now so that it will better prepare them in 25 years. Please read through the rest of my blog. There's some videos, there's some notes. I got some graphs and pictures. There's some survey data in there. But feel free to click around. Use the links as your curiosity takes you. And if you got any questions, you always shoot me an email. There's a contact list on my website. Just click on the contact me, and I'm happy to hear from you. Thanks.